I had a subscriber ask me about this term called a savior complex, asking me if it was a mental health issue, if it was a diagnosis. No, it's not a diagnosis. It's not in the DSM 5 revised. However, it is a nice way of thinking about people who basically are too nice. You know, if you look at the savior complex, the main four characteristics are they're cooperative, they're helpful, they're giving, and they're compassionate. And those things all sound really good, and they are really good, unless you have them excessively. When you have them excessively and you're living so much of your life in the purpose of helping someone else, rescuing someone else, then it becomes really dangerous, because all of a sudden you're not being honest with how you feel. You're not being real. You're always making your life about the feelings or the lives of others. And what ends up happening is, because you're giving all the time, at the end of the day, you're exhausted and you have nothing left. So if someone were to ask you, how do you feel about this? People who have a savior complex very rarely think about how they feel, what they're feeling about themselves, what they feel about their childhood. They've never been given that permission, and they've never taken it up on themselves. So you may ask yourself, gosh, how do I know? Like, how do I know if I'm with this kind of person? I was thinking this person was just a really nice person, but maybe they're trying to rescue me. Well, saviors do look for people who constantly need help for life. So you might be able to kind of look at yourself and go, am I needy of somebody? Do I always have something going on in my life? Savior complex people really love that. They need to be used by other people who have a lot of issues. Even though it's not healthy, this is what they look for. So like, these are some warning signs, or these are some what I call very common things that you might be witnessing in yourself or somebody you're dating, that you may be able to identify it. First of all, you get a sense of value and purpose from basically helping other people. That's your whole goal. You're unable to say no to people's requests. So if somebody wants something, you will do it. No matter what is going on in your day, you won't say no. There's no boundary there. You're ignoring your own self-care. Like, you're not taking care of yourself. You're not going to the doctor when you should. You don't get things checked out. If you don't feel good, you just push through and do it anyway. Your inability to put boundaries in any area of your life. Like, there's no area that's really special to you. You may live at home, or you may have a job, but nothing will come above this person's need of you. And that's when it really gets sick, because you're losing yourself in your sense of caring for this other person. You continue to work at it until you're just burned out. You just don't have anything to give anybody, because you're so worried about letting them down or their expectations for you. You feel like others' happiness is really important. Like, if they're unhappy, it's your fault. You take that personally. When someone doesn't know, like, if they're not appreciated for, they don't feel good about themselves, you'll go over the top to put on something elaborate for them. And they may never appreciate you. They probably don't. They just take your kindness or your compassion for granted. You draw your self-worth and your value from giving to others, from these others being happy. You cannot stand it if someone that you love or in your inner circle is not happy. They have to basically be happy or report being happy to make you feel okay. If there's any little thing wrong with them, puts an edge in your whole day, like you just can't function. These are not good signs. So how do people become this type of person, get this savior complex? Well, the first thing is, many of them come from parentified homes where they assumed the responsibility of making their parents happy. They felt like love had to be earned. And so they did everything they could to be a good kid, to be a model, to be an exemplary student, all these things. And it was all in an effort to please their parents. They have low self-esteem and they're extremely self-critical. More than likely, they had a parent who is very critical, and so they embraced that and they took that on themselves. They internalized it, and so they too are very self-critical. And they base their self-worth on pleasing others because basically that shows that they're okay. That's where the whole dynamic is a full circle. So how do you stop doing this? Well, the best thing I'm going to tell you is you should go to a therapist, because a therapist is going to want to explore where it came from when you agreed to do this as a small child, or you agreed to that this was part of who you were going to be, and then help you understand it so you can start making boundaries against it. The first step is you have to be able to see it. You have to look at your behaviors and go, oh yeah, I'm doing this. Like, are you taking responsibility for everybody's happiness? That's a really big question. And if you are, sometimes you totally unnoticed. You've let yourself go so much that this other person has become your life, and you're lost in that. Secondly, it's important you start taking care of yourself. You need to start putting yourself on your own calendar. In fact, I would say a good amount of time is 1 hour each day you're going to devote to your self-care, whether that's meditating, going for a walk, going for a run, breathing exercises, going to get your nails done, going to get your hair cut in, your beard trimmed, whatever it is, you need to start with self-care. You need to go to the grocery store, get really good groceries for you, and make yourself a meal. And I think taking time for yourself is going to be really difficult, so make sure you put it in increments. 30 minutes in the morning, 30 minutes at night. Most people can do 30 minutes. They might not be able to do an hour at once, but 30 minutes they usually can. And finally, it's really important that you have clear, decisive boundaries. You may only have 2. I'm not taking any calls after 8 p.m. and I'm going to shut my phone off through all my meals. These are 2 small boundaries, but if you can establish those and really follow through on them, it's going to really be the beginning process of you taking back yourself and stop rescuing everyone else. You are not responsible for others' happiness. And in fact, the surest way to sabotage any relationship you may want or have is to begin believing that it's up to you totally to make them happy, because it's not. It's their job. If this video is helpful for you, please subscribe. And if you're already a subscriber, thank you so much.